Before the mid-60s, Americans had never heard the term SUV, but the Ford Motor Company changed all that. In 1966, the new Bronco was an instant hit when it first rolled off the assembly line. Now, a group of craftsmen in this small shop is looking to rekindle that 50-year-old spark. They're building a Bronco that looks just like the original, but has all modern-day technology underneath. If they do it right, they'll revive an American legend. This is Tulsa, Oklahoma, a city built on tenacity and hard work. And that's just the spirit that's embodied by the crew at Tulsa's brand new muscle car. They're building a 1966 Ford Bronco virtually from scratch. Last week, the crew started with an original body from a first-generation Bronco. The first step in the process is to make that 50-year-old body look just like a brand new one.
So it's very important to make sure you clean your metal before you weld, because the cleaner it is, the better of a weld.
Tony repaired an old tack welded panel to make it look seamless.
So when you do get the chance to go under the car and check stuff out, like when people want to see the suspension and want to see, engine cradles, whatever, they're like, wow, everything's nice and clean down here.
And the team cut the body to make extra room for big off-road tires and the enormous Coyote engine that's going under the hood. Now, on to the next step.
Whenever we first get a body, what we do is Martin will come in, we'll flip it over, put it on a rotisserie. Martin will do all the seam sealing over the whole bottom.
Martin likes to do seam seal just like they did back in the day. He likes to do it by hand. Put it on by hand, brush it on by hand, just like they did. Nowadays cars are built by robots, but in Martin's mind, we're replicating the past, so we're doing everything by hand.
My new body man. Now, it's your turn.
And my new body man, come on.
You see? I'm lucky I got Michelle and Gilbert. Look, you see, it's a professional. Look at this, look at this, look at this. Look at this, yeah? Uh-huh.
I'm getting nervous,
You see, look. Huh? You see, Tonyo, you see? Especially for a girl. I don't know, it's a body girl, it's a body man. Yeah, the definition, it's a body man.
What do you think, Michelle? What do you like to be preferred, body man or body girl?
Man or body girl. Because body girl...
Bodybuilder.
Yes, like that, right?
Just call me a body man.
Body man, right? Yeah.
Interesting thing about watching Martin and Tony do seam sealing is, of course, even with that, everything they do, they have a special way they want to do it, special product. Martin has a particular kind of seam sealer that he likes. It's $50 a tube. It's double what every other seam sealer is, but it's the best, and we have to have it, and that's just Martin. He has a particular way he does it. He has a particular product he's going to use. There are certain products that our supplier didn't carry, and they now have to carry because of Martin.
The exterior and the bottom, we did kind of give it that old school look. There's ways of doing it, but if I'm not mistaken, I think the whole bottom and the top was also going to get better line. So I don't see why things should be done a certain way sometimes, but sometimes, when you do the paint or it covers, especially when you're doing bed lining. So I kind of just wanted to give a little test of how you could do it in an old school way, or if you wanted a nice crisp line of seam seal going all the way down, you could also do that. It's just how preference, however you like it, but as long as it's done right.
When we return, the painters get to the bottom of things. And Richard shows us how much technology has changed in the last 50 years. More brand new muscle cars still to come.
Brand new muscle car Classic Bronco is brought to you by Clamp Tight, the clamp making tool. Silver Sport Transmission, overdrive transmission kits everyone loves, delivered with pride. And by Exalta Coating Systems, we paint winners.
Welcome back to beautiful Tulsa on the banks of the Arkansas River. The staff is hard at work on this Bronco resto mod, but it's not the only thing going on at the brand new muscle car shop.
There's three parts to our business: collision, restoration, and builds. And at the resto shop, the guys specialize in everything. They do old cars, old trucks, classic muscle cars. We've got a 66 Volvo over there, Cadillac, Bronco. We have a hard time saying no. Customer comes in, customer's nice, cool car, they've got money, we're interested.
this. Started out doing this from the time I was a kid, putting a piston in a 49 Merc under a car in the winter. It's just been a lifelong passion. It's kept me out of trouble, and it's given me a real sense that I have ability that I'm proud of.
It's pretty a neat deal. You try to get on the same wavelength as a customer so that you can, be on the same page, and sometimes they just give you the freedom to do whatever you want, which is the best one, so you can kind of twist and turn their idea and do it the best you can.
And once I meet a customer, I don't really like them to just be a customer. I like to get to know them. I like to know what is it about this truck that caused him to invest his money into this and pay me to do it, which is a great honor.
Any of these cars in here we're working on are special to the owners. So we're going to treat it just like any of the other cars. We're going to do it right and do it good and make sure the customer's happy with the car when it's finished.
The amount of time that I put into it is minimal compared to the emotion that he's got tied up in this truck. So if I even capture a small part of that feeling that he has, then I'll have done the job that I was supposed to do for him.
We do a lot of restoration. Obviously that means a lot of rust. Even in the build shop sometimes we'll have donor cars, they're rusty as well. So typically you would blow the car apart, take it, have it media blasted, hand strip some stuff, sand some stuff. It's just a huge mess, and rust is a big problem. We got to get rid of it before we start our process. One of the easy ways to do it is rust release. It's a non-toxic, non-flammable solution that we can dip the parts in, and they come out, the rust is gone.
The advantage of rust release is that it's environmentally friendly. It removes the rust, on every crevice, as you can see, the before and after.
Yeah.
You don't have to sandblast. You don't have to pickle. You'll be able to clean hundreds and hundreds of parts with any size tank that we put in your shop.
Wow, it gets all the way down in there, huh?
Absolutely.
I mean, it gets everywhere, literally.
Every single crevice, front, back.
Little crusty intake looks pretty good.
You're right. You could just let it dry, and then the part's ready for painting, ready to go.
Sure looks like it works pretty good on aluminum and cast iron, sheet metal. I put that in like a day ago. That worked out pretty good.
Yeah, and it'll work. Typically, it's going to work in a couple of hours, too. So you can clean a lot of parts fast if you need to. It doesn't affect paint. That's what's nice also. But what we do is we always suggest you take the part out when the rust is gone.
For one, it doesn't stink the shop up. For two, it's not a fire hazard. You don't have to wear gloves, and it works really good. You just blow it off with compressed air, let it dry out. The part's prepped, it's ready to go. You can stick it on the car, or you can get it painted, or whatever you need to do.
Well, from what I've seen so far today, it should save quite a bit of time because we can put the parts in the rust release and walk away and go do other work while the rust release is doing its job. So we'll be able to get twice as much done as we used to be able to do.
Jeez! You put this on, Hercules? God! Does it really need to be on that tight?
Well,
Normally after we seam seal the car, we take it in the booth, prep it, paint it, hot rod black, maybe paint it and gloss it, but in this case it's a truck. It's gonna go off-road, we know it's gonna get dirty, so we bedline the bottom and make it tougher.
We like painting the underneath side of the vehicle because it's got to have some kind of protection. If it just came in primer, it's not going to last, for one, and especially on these cars, whenever you do the bottoms, a lot of people look at the bottoms of these cars.
It'll seal it up real good. It'll actually help it insulate it a little bit from sound and noise additionally, which is, not a bad thing, but it's really the mud, the dirt, the rocks that we're worried about.
Before we do any paint work on a vehicle, we have to sand it down with 320 grit sandpaper. It gives the paint something to bite into. If you don't sand it and it's a slick surface and you try to put paint or whatever over the top of that, it will not stick.
We're going to go ahead and bedline this part because once we set the fenders on there, that way this is already done. We don't have to pull it back off later and do it later. So we're going to go ahead and do all that because, well, we just want to do it that way.
All right, we done?
We're done. We can flip it.
Wait. Now we're done.
Unlike paint, bed liner, it's kind of a rubberized material. So whenever rocks, mud, and anything like that, it won't mess up the paint. So the reason why we like to bed line the bottom of them is just to add some extra protection if we know that like four-wheel drive is going to go off-road and stuff like that.
Looks good.
Yeah, you like it?
Yeah, that looks good.
Nice.
That'll keep those rock chips and mud and just all sorts of stuff just off of it.
The original Ford Bronco was made to go anywhere. Coming up, we find out what made it possible. And we get a dose of Bronco history from one of the world's foremost experts.
Learn more about the Ford Bronco story in Todd Zerker's new book. Get your copy of Ford Bronco, a history of Ford's legendary 4x4 at cartechbooks.com and at popular retailers in store and online.
The Bronco was revolutionary when it first came out for several reasons. The Scouts and the Jeeps and other vehicles on the market had four-wheel leaf spring suspensions, which were rough riding, and that also meant that they had fairly large turning radiuses. So the Bronco went to coil springs and a radius arm front suspension, which gave a much better ride, even though it was a short wheelbase vehicle, and it gave them a much shorter turning radius. So if you were on a narrow mountain road and you needed to traverse a switchback, you could make that turn a lot easier, not have to do a 20-point turn to get around a corner. The older vehicles that preceded the Bronco also had a transfer case in them where the power didn't flow through the gearbox in a direct manner. So there were a lot of gears turning and whirring, and there was a lot of gear train noise. The Bronco had a transfer case where they call it a pass-through design, where it literally went in, bypassed all the gears that you had to engage to get to four-wheel drive, and went straight out to the back. So it was much quieter and smoother. An old Bronco, a first-generation Bronco, compared to what we have today, is really a crude instrument in so many ways, especially in stock form. It started out with manual four-wheel drum brakes, manual steering, 3-speed manual transmission, a lever on the floor that was kind of hard to shift in and out of four-wheel drive. You had to get out and lock the hubs to put the vehicle in four-wheel drive. It started out with just a 6-cylinder engine, so it was really almost bordering on a farm implement compared to the modern plush SUV. But at the time, it was a very, very capable vehicle. Still is, even despite its relative simplicity, is still a very, very capable off-road vehicle.
One of the biggest advantages that the Bronco had over the Jeep was it came with a big 9-inch rear end factory. You didn't have to upgrade anything because you can run big tires, don't have to worry about braking it. This was a huge rear axle to put under such a light vehicle. Next up on the list is going to be the front axle assembly and the front suspension. This has radius arm style suspension, which allows for a lot more axle articulation versus the leaf spring rigs that the Jeeps, the Internationals, the Chevrolets had. I mean, it works really well. The only downside is it's a little more complicated to put together. You actually have what are called C-bushings. You have one in the front and one in the back, and they're specifically marked where they go. And for our lift kit, we're using a set of bushings that have a 7-degree offset, so we can get the caster angles back into it so that our Bronco steers nice. Start off with some new bolts. They're a little bit longer than the original ones. Try and make it a little easier to get these bushings in. Here's the longer bolt that I used versus the stock bolts. You can see the difference in the length there. So now that we've pulled that gap down closed, we can put the stock bolts back in it to finish pulling it down the rest of the way, because the bolts I got, the shoulder's a little too long. It won't pull the clamps down all the way. All right. Radius arm mounts back here in the very back, and that's what holds it to the frame in the rear, and then in the front we'll have the coil springs. Once the coil spring is in, this will bolt down on top of it to hold the coil spring in place. Now, some guys like to bolt the spring in the upper bucket and raise the differential up to it. Me personally, I like to bolt it to the axle down here and then jack the axle into place. And then we'll have a track bar that runs laterally across the frame. So it has 3 points of contact. And this is what allows the suspension to move freely, hold the front wheels straight, all that kind of stuff. Now these fit in the steering knuckle. We're going to have to drill these oversized to make them work. That's the next step. All right, that one's done nice and straight. All right, now it is time to set the tie rod on. Okay, these are what they call rod ends or high misalignment joints. We use these on steering on big four-wheel drive vehicles because they take all of the sloppiness out of the steering. Nice, firm, attentive steering. What we have is, of course, big grade 8 bolts. These are the misalignment bushings. This is your rod end. What it does is it actually moves inside here, back and forth, front to back, doesn't matter, and it allows for much more precise steering. Once we get these mounted in here, we'll put the same bushing on the bottom side with a lock nut. Done deal. Finally, it's time to put the wheels on it. Then we can take our chassis, take it off the big jack stands, put it on its shoes for the first time. That's a good thing.
I love it.
Like it.
Ooh. Seriously, man, motor, seat, I'm ready.
Not far.
Seam seal? Check. Suspension? Check. Up next, it's time to reunite the body with the chassis. And we take a look at a great-looking original Bronco Roadster.
Brand new muscle car Classic Bronco is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day on auto parts and accessories. R3 Performance Products, setting a new standard for muscle car and resto mod builds around the world. And by Scoggin Dickey Parts Center, your source for custom-built street-to-strip power.
It's a 1966 U13 Bronco. The U13 was built to compete with the Jeep Wrangler. And it has a fold-down windshield on it. Got a 170 cubic inch 6-cylinder engine in it, 3-speed transmission. This one has a live PTO Koenig winch set up in it. You actually start the vehicle, put the transfer case in neutral, and it's got a second shift on the side. You put it in gear and you run the winch with the gear shift. This particular U13, the 66, had silver mist interior in it. The dash was collar keyed to the same color only that year. They've got one-off hubcaps on them. I've seen guys pay as much as $1,000 for a hubcap. No parking lights. It's got a teardrop tailgate on it. It's different than the 67 and up. They changed the taillights out on it. It's got square end cut bumpers on it. All kind of options. They were made this way with plastic fiberglass inserts. No doors, no top. Just the way you see this one's the way it came off the showroom floor. In the 3 years that they made the U13, they only made 4,090. Lately, we found out that there's probably only a couple hundred of those left, and out of that, there's probably 65 to 70 of them in running condition. Built to this quality, there's probably less than 15 or 20 of them. There's evidence of a few around and sold for over 100,000 now. I bought it 2 years ago in a salvage yard, took it home and took it completely apart. Every nut and bolt and everything's been completely out of it, and spent about a year and a half on it. Got me addicted into the bronchitis, I guess. And I just play with them all the time. I've probably had 300 of them.
Suspension is one of those things. There are a lot of different flavors. You have daily driver material, then you see guys that add 800 pounds worth of winches, bumpers, spare tire racks, and then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the guys that strip everything out of them. I mean, they tin can them. Roll cage, no doors. So yeah, there's a really wide spectrum. On this Bronco we're building, this is going to be a well-balanced rig. It's going to have 4 shocks in the front because we've got the big Coyote V8 engine, and it's going to have 2 in the rear. It's going to steer good, and I think all those things together, it's going to make something that you can really drive around town, drive on the highway, and you can take it off and do some medium-level four-wheeling with it and not have any trouble.
What is this?
There you go.
What is
instructions.
Who needs instructions?
Okay, you've done this before, right?
Technically, no.
Okay.
How many monkeys does it take to put a body on a frame?
The same one. Hey, no, had the same one. Yeah, the same one he took it to put in bed liner in the car.
It is the same number of guys it took to do the bed liner.
Yeah. Yeah, that one is a bed liner.
That's the bed liner.
So this is the moment of truth. This is when the thing starts to look like a vehicle. This is when it starts to look like a truck for me, like a giant toy truck. And I'm really excited to see the body go on the frame, 4 wheels and tires. I'll probably hop in it and try to have someone push me around in it because I'm going to be excited.
More. A little bit more. Okay, right there.
Normally, I send customers pictures weekly, and with this guy, I've been texting him pictures kind of every 20 minutes, and he's really excited about the way it looks.
It looks good.
Yeah, it looks
I
great.
love it.
It's awesome.
I'm ready to drive it.
Yeah. I can't wait to get it dirty.
Exactly. Love it. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
That was good.
Well, another thing done.
Next week on Brand New Muscle Car Classic Bronco, we'll learn about the inspiration behind the original Bronco. Professor Richard takes us to school on brakes and shocks. And the Bodywork team works hard to make this 50-year-old shell look as good as new. We'll see you next time.
Hey, David, can we make it this tall? Yes, let's make it this tall. This is Oklahoma tall.